Hello, folks, and welcome to the Outdoors Radio Show, The Bend. We are happy to have you along with us. I am your host, Rebecca Wanner, a.k.a. Beck, and as always, we love hearing from all of you. Comment, stories, ideas. Get a hold of us anytime. Call or text 305-900-2363. Again, that's 305-900-2363. Or you can drop an email to bendradioshow@gmail.com. Joining me as always is my producer, sound engineer, and co-host Jeff Tigger Erhardt. He's waving his hands in the air. Yes, he is in the house.
Oh, jeez. I'm in our studio.
Don't worry.
I'm sliding the volume thing.
As the temperatures continue to slide downward rapidly fast, about to hit the below the donut, as we've been saying. We enjoyed a very comfortable January, but man, we are heading into February. A bit chilly.
Everybody's kind of getting nailed. There's been a lot of cold temperatures going all the way from border to border, honestly. It's been little on the chilly side. In fact, we got a lot of emails. People said, hey, can you take your weather back because they know we live in colder country? And I'm like, no.
And I got to admit,
can't take it back.
Even the Border Collie, Naked, and our Chihuahua, Mojo, they've both given me the look with their puppy eyes, and I've even felt bad and said, all right, come on in, you guys. It's a little too cold out there for you, too.
Explain the name one more time for those that have just found us. Because they don't understand. You just said the word naked. They don't get it.
You explain it better than I do.
Okay. The Border Collie's name is Naked, and the whole reason for that is when we do a lot of speaking with the dog, I say, who wants to see me run around naked? And then out comes the dog. Ha, ha, ha. You don't get it. So those of you, if this is your first time jumping on board, now you know why we have a Border Collie named Naked.
'Tis the season to keep your eyes on the ground. Many parts of the country are seeing antlers being shed. Many of us who enjoy hiking find antler shed hunting kind of a treat and added excitement to being out and about, as well as a fun time if you've been pattering year after year. I know I enjoy that a lot. And maybe having caught these deer, elk, or moose on trail cams, and now, yes.
I do have a question for you. When you have been out hiking and you have seen sheds on your place, have you been able to harvest those deer later, like the next year or the year after?
I'm glad you brought that up because that's where I was going with that, about saying about patterning the deer, and you've had them on trail cam footage and such. Tigger, actually, I have a whitetail that's out here mounted in our living room.
The nice one out there? I mean,
yes.
They're all nice, but the big one?
Thank you. The big one. Yes, I have 3 years worth of sheds on him prior to when I was able to finally harvest and take my trophy. So it was very exciting to be able to look over the years, the growth patterns that happen. Now there's the other side of that too, and that's those of us that are running tractors or hauling feed through hay yards and such. Little warning, be sure to be watching, as an antler and one of those pricey tires can sure be a way to ruin a day real quick. Now, our headlines this week have been national headlines that you may have easily overlooked with what's all happening out there in the world. And that's why I wanted to bring them back to light. I wanted to make sure that everyone was aware of them because I found them both extremely interesting. First, we head to Florida, where the Florida Fish and Wildlife Conservation Commission has filed charges against 8 individuals, accusing them of partaking in an illegal venomous snake trafficking ring in the Sunshine State. These men, who face dozens of misdemeanors and felonies, were arrested earlier this month after a 3-year investigation known as Operation Viper. In a press release, the FWC said that its undercover agents staged transactions involving nearly 200 snakes representing 24 species from 7 different global regions. Among the species trafficked were bushmasters, caboon vipers, cobras, puff adders, and green mambas. Some of these snakes are among the most dangerous in the world, according to the investigator. The investigation found that some of the individuals arrested had discussed releasing these dangerous and prohibited reptiles into Florida habitat to establish a wild breeding population so that they could harvest them later for more sales. Get this, the dozens of charges ranged from second-degree misdemeanors to third-degree felonies, including possession of venomous reptiles without a permit, possession of a threatened species, illegal transportation of venomous reptiles, and release of non-native species, just to list a few. Now, the reason I'm really shedding light on this is that wildlife trafficking, often a nexus for other illegal activity, ranks fourth behind drugs, weapons, and humans in illicit global trade. Get this, according to the Wildlife Conservation Society, it generates between $7.8 billion to $10 billion per year.
Okay, and you said it was, do that list again, it was fourth what?
It ranks fourth behind drugs, weapons, and humans in illicit global trade.
You know, I was going to chime in there, of course, and, had something to say, but as I was listening to that,
you realized how serious of a situation this was.
How serious of a situation that was, and with the different charges, if you're releasing a poisonous and a venomous snake into the wild, okay, and if they could prove that you released it into the wild and it bit somebody and that person was injured, and heaven forbid it be a fatal bite,
correct.
Obviously that there would be enormous amount of prosecutions for that, of course.
Correct.
But I mean, that's almost, I don't want to say assault with a deadly weapon, but I mean, that kind of opens up this whole gray area of potential charges.
Because of the potential for risk of life and other livestock or other, they're an invasive species. There's so many other factors that occur, especially when being released into Florida, which is considered a subtropical climate that is very conducive to allowing these animals to adapt and procreate and become very, very.
We're hearing that all the time. I mean, not just a nuisance, but this is becoming dangerous. I mean,
yes.
We're not just talking about, feral hogs that are ripping up the country or something like this.
It's funny you brought that up, because that's where we're going next.
Okay. Then I will pass the Let's move on from the snake situation that makes you think about looking twice. Okay, what else? Feral hogs. Talk to me.
Next headline. Yes, we're talking wild hogs or wild pigs. They're now becoming a national threat from not just the South, but now from the north. A new wild pig problem is on the horizon. Officials are warning wild pigs are nothing new, of course, the United States. We've had a fight with these for over 400 plus years, dealing with these invasive wild hogs. Well, according to the University of Saskatchewan's Wild Pig Research Project, the wild pig issue is relatively new in Canada. They didn't show up there until the early 1980s, when there was a big push to diversify agriculture with species like wild boars, and the wild boars were brought in from Europe to be raised on farms across Canada. Well, fast forward, and these pigs were crossbred with wild boars and domesticated pigs. The hybrid resulted in bigger pigs, which they are calling the super pigs, capable of surviving cold climates, temperatures that are very, very severe up north. The market for these new hogs dropped out in the early 2000s. Thus, of course, as it happens, some of them escaped operations, while others were simply let free as there was no longer a market to sell them to. Now, as time has passed, these super pigs have reproduced at an extremely high rate, and they predict that they now roam nearly 620,000 square miles of Canada, mostly in that Prairie Providence region of Saskatchewan, Manitoba, and Alberta. These wild boar, razorback, feral hog, or wild pigs, as they may be known, they are extremely destructive species in the United States. They're considered an invasive species. And in case you weren't aware of this, in the southern part of the country, and you're hearing about this for the first time, those that live up north, you may not have realized what kind of damage they currently cause in the United States without those that may be coming from the Canada border. Currently, the United States suffers about $2.5 billion annually in damages to crops, forestry, livestock, and pastures, as well as they present great risk to human health and safety as they harbor and transmit dozens of parasites and diseases. Well, one thing that is causing a lot of concern is that these super pigs, as we said, they're able to handle the cold climates of the north. And one of the things they've done in order to live and survive is they've figured out how to tunnel under snow. They go into cattail marshes and channel into soft snow and cut nests into the cattails. So if you go in on an early morning on a cold day, they say you can actually see the steam pouring out of the top of the nests. And the other reason why this issue is so dire is that the wild hogs feed on anything. They gobble up tons and tons of goslings and ducklings in the spring. They're known to be able to take down white-tailed deer, even as an adult deer. Originally, according to one of the leading researchers, it was a wow moment when they realized that they can somehow, in a way, hunt. And it has become clear that they're threatening the white-tailed deer, elk, and especially waterfowl species. Not to mention, of course, causing crop damage. And the downsides outweigh any benefit these wild hogs may have on a huntable species. Many folks may or may not realize our northern borders between the United States and Canada, a lot of areas do not actually have a physical boundary. So there really isn't anything to stop these feral hogs, these super pigs, from crossing that Canadian border into the United States. They figure that North Dakota has been having them migrating into their state slowly over the last 5 years, but they're expecting them to begin rapidly invading the United States in the near future. It is important to note that this may be the time to begin learning of your state's laws regarding potential threats to wildlife, property, or livestock. For example, right now, landowners or hunters who encounter feral pigs in North Dakota must notify the State Board of Animal Health immediately. The shooting of feral pigs is illegal in the state of North Dakota unless a person is protecting their property or livestock. So there you have it. That's why I'm bringing this up. If you do encounter or see a feral pig, wild pig, boar in your area, please be sure to reach out to your local Game and Fish or the State Board of Animal Health. That's a wrap of the news. When we come back, we're going to share some easy recipes that'll help us all stick to our diet goals.
Watch RFD TV anytime, anywhere on all your connected devices with RFD TV Now. Simply go to watchrfdtv.com and sign up for just $9.99 a month, or save more and pay just $89.99 for the year. You can begin streaming RFD TV live right away and have access to your favorite shows 24/7 on demand. Go to watchrfdtv.com, sign up, and start streaming today.
We've all probably been in a situation where we needed to make a phone call and couldn't because we didn't have signal or reception. We couldn't get a text out, a message, nothing. It can be downright scary when it feels like we're cut off from the world and a person needs to be located, or we need to locate someone. That's where Atlas Tracks comes in. Atlas Tracks owner, Carolyn Stash.
It's called Atlas Tracks. We handle GPS trackers. We recently added safety products, so life rafts and satellite phones and all marine electronics.
So it's beacons, safety gear, tracking devices that I can use anywhere?
No, absolutely. It's everywhere. I have personal beacons that people take hiking. I take mine skiing. Guys are taking them backcountry in Montana. So I do have people going deer hunting for days. They'll take them on their ATVs. But it's for every outdoor adventure sport needing to be located when you're out of cellular range.
Head to atlastracks.com. That's tracks with an X, Atlas Tracks. Welcome back to the Outdoors Radio Show, The Bend. I am your host, Rebecca Wanner, a.k.a. Beck, and sitting alongside me is my co-host, Jeff Tigger Erhardt. Now, quick question to all of you. How are you doing on your diets? That's been something that we've actually been getting asked by our own friends, and you recently, Tigger.
Because we made the mistake of sharing that we were trying to, get healthy. But that's okay. People are holding us accountable. Mm-hmm, that's what you're supposed to do.
And one of the things that one of your friends even asked was, because you kind of follow a little bit more of a ketogenic diet, Tigger, is that, maybe why don't you explain a little bit?
The big question was, what am I doing? I do follow a ketogenic diet to a degree, which is high fat, low carbs. I do that because, I'll just be honest with everybody, I have terrible stomach problems and digestive problems. So that is a diet that works for me. And we have to reduce our sodium, reduce our cholesterol. I have to eat very little processed foods. And so that's what we've been working on at our place, is to get me back healthy again.
But in no way are we saying that is the route to go. We're in no way
not.
encouraging you to go on a keto diet or anything like that. What we're doing is
that's just what works for me in my tummy.
Yes, exactly. So what we're going to do is share with you one of the things that we do that's become kind of a staple for us to keep us, in check all week long, and helps us with our eating habits. Because a lot of times, not only is it hard to stay on a diet that is maybe a little bit higher in protein, lower in carbohydrates, as Tigger said, but then also watch that sodium intake along with your cholesterol. And then here's the other component, serving size.
And it's very hard if one person is eating a certain way, the other person is eating a different way. It's very hard. So we had to try to find a way that fit both of us, because you certainly don't need any of those types of diets whatsoever. You just wanted to eat healthy and less processed foods. Mine is just a little bit more on the strict side.
So here's a recipe that we do every week, and it helps us also with meal prepping, and that is to make an egg bake. But instead of baking it usually in a casserole dish, we bake it in a muffin tin. That way our sizes are all portion controlled, and we have a little bit of fun with it. We'll take out some of our venison and pork sausage, cook that up as we are mixing together our egg bake.
As long as we can afford the eggs at this point anyway. We all know the prices of eggs are, right?
And so we will cut up that sausage, pre-cook it, toss it into the muffin tin along with, say, some of those chopped green peppers, red peppers, little onion, cheese, and then pour in the egg bake. And it also, if you're needing to cut back on the cholesterol, I will remove several of the egg yolks and instead add in a high protein milk that will stretch the eggs just a little bit more, plus give you the protein that you need.
And this has helped me keep my cholesterol level down, because that's been one of the major concerns too, is I needed to lower my cholesterol.
This is what I love about using these egg bakes baked in a muffin tin. You've got your portion control. They're all done for the whole week, and you're able to set yourself up for success every morning. Now, if you have any other ideas or tips that might help us all with keeping to our diets, meeting our goals, or if you just want to make sure that you're holding Tigger and I accountable for what we're saying we're doing, don't be afraid to reach out to us. And again, you can always do so by calling or texting 305-900-2363. Waterfowl, turkey, deer. ToxicCalls.com offers all of the various styles of calls needed to take your hunt to the next level when you create, quite simply, the most real sound yet. American made to boot. Order today. ToxicCalls.com.
OverTheEdgeOutdoors.org, a nonprofit providing veterans and active service members with opportunities to hunt and fish at no cost to them. For more information or to donate, check out OverTheEdgeOutdoors.org.
Again, that's OverTheEdgeOutdoors.org.
You asked for it, you got it. Watch the Cowboy Channel anytime, anywhere with the Cowboy Channel Plus. Live stream the Cowboy Channel or watch your favorite PRCA rodeos on demand. Classic PRCA rodeos added weekly. Get the Cowboy Channel Plus for only $9.99 a month, or save 25% by signing up for a full year. Visit CowboyChannelPlus.com to sign up and start streaming today.
Waterfowl, turkey, deer. ToxicCalls.com offers all of the various styles of calls needed to take your hunt to the next level when you create, quite simply, the most real sound yet. American made to boot. Order today. ToxicCalls.com.
OverTheEdgeOutdoors.org, a nonprofit providing veterans and active service members with opportunities to hunt and fish at no cost to them. For more information or to donate, check out OverTheEdgeOutdoors.org.
Again, that's OverTheEdgeOutdoors.org. Welcome back to the Outdoors Radio Show, The Bend. I am your host, Rebecca Wanner, a.k.a. Beck, and joining me as my co-host is Jeff Tigger Erhardt. Now, we had some inquiries recently about teaching our own kids how to begin in archery. Now, this listener that reached out about being a sportsman himself, he said he had gifted his own child a bow, but he was quite surprised how frustrating it was when teaching his passion to one of his own. Now, first off, I want to commend you, sir, for reaching out. And secondly, yes, when dealing with a close family member to begin with, you are not alone in stating it is frustrating. Wouldn't you say, Tigger?
How do I answer that I don't get in trouble?
Whether it's one of your own, a spouse,
it
doesn't matter. When it's somebody that's very closely in your circle, it all of a sudden becomes frustrating rather quickly.
You want them to become as excited as you are.
Yes,
yes.
yes.
I get it.
So we are going to be digging into this topic in the near future. Now, we're going to be digging into this topic in the near future, especially as it starts warming up. But first off, before we go too far down that rabbit hole, I wanted to let you know that there are a lot of us that are in the same boat as this gentleman, regardless if it is archery or handling firearms. If you feel yourself is becoming frustrated quickly, thinking about these kids have come along maybe a million times, it seems, and seen you do this a million times, the activity from archery to casting even a fishing line. This is true. We may have failed them by not ever explaining how or why we took the steps we did to get to the stage we are.
Remember when you were trying to learn how to fly fish? You were trying to learn how to cast?
Yes, I do.
I was trying not to be frustrated with you, but it just, you were doing these motions that, and your muscles were moving in a way, in a rhythm and a timing, or you were trying to get it down, and I was getting mad, and you were getting frustrated, but look at you now.
Well, thank you.
You're
Thank
catching
you.
the big one.
So that's what I'm going to say is, here's one quick little tip. Take a step back, remove yourself, and even consider signing up your child for a few lessons with an area sportsman's club that might be offering beginner lessons, because you may be surprised how their attention to another superior may reduce that frustration, the anger outbursts, or ruin a special time for down the road. So we're going to be digging into this topic much further here in future episodes, but I wanted to at least, touch on this topic. It's a terrific one, and thank you so much for sending it in. Now, here's a quick heads up. Kind of attention to those that participate in winter sports. For example, sledding with the kids or going snowmobiling. The iPhone 14 has a new crash feature that is continuing to cause havoc. If you remember, when winter started, we were hearing reports of skiers and snowboarders having their iPhone 14s call 911 thinking there'd been a crash. Well, it turns out this is happening too while sledding or snowmobiling. Essentially, anytime one might come to a very abrupt stop. And since so many of us are rarely go anywhere without our cell phones, states like Wisconsin and others, law enforcement officials are asking iPhone 14 users to turn off the feature when participating in winter sports. Now for our last story, here's one that I'm going to call more of a feel-good. Some Lowe's stores across the country have now started hosting children birthday parties. These Lowe's stores
Wait,
are
you said
taking...
Lowe's, right? The hardware store you're talking? Building supplies?
Yes.
They're hosting
Lowe's.
parties for children?
Lowe, Lowe's. Yes, they're starting to take reservations for parties in which they will host them and conduct a children's workshop. The parties last about 2 hours long and include project kits for the kids. Now, I have to say, to me, this sounds like a fantastic idea and one we should all appreciate. Granted, many of us have grown up with more than ample opportunities to learn the hard way, to pound that nail or read a tape measure. It is a great way for the urban world to offer opportunities to kids to have learning experience that we will all need down the road when you think about it.
There's a lot of OA classes that are getting pulled from high school curriculum.
Correct.
This is a great way for young men and women just to get exposed to, working with their hands and realizing how fulfilling that can be.
Absolutely,
doing your own work.
absolutely. And many of us can probably agree as well that when we apply those practices that we learn and we actually go hands-on, that's the best way to learn versus in the classroom.
Absolutely.
And we're going to call this show wrapped, folks. Thank you to my producer, sound engineer, co-host, Jeff Tigger Erhardt. And again, a thank you to our Bend Field staffer, Heather Crowey, on sending in some of our leading news stories to report on. As always, know that we sure do enjoy hearing how your parts of the country are doing. So please, we invite you to call, text, send in your area's field reports. That number again is 305-900-BEND. Again, 305-900-2363. As y'all keep making those memories this winter, be sure to keep sending in those pictures by email, bendradioshow@gmail.com, and always tagging at The Bend Show on social media. We love hearing and sharing your life with you, and we want to see it all. If you missed part of this episode or you want to hear past shows, you can find them all on the website, thebendshow.com. Again, that's thebendshow.com. And be sure to subscribe on your favorite podcasting app. Looking to change things up at your next event, conference, or awards banquet? Think about having us, Tigger and Beck, entertain your crowd. From MCs to the event headliner, public speakers to acting as a host couple, let us make your gathering extra special. From ranching, cattle, hunting, fishing, camping, and rodeo, plus so much more. By the way, did you know Tigger is a PRCA rodeo announcer and we're music directors too? And Tigger is also an auctioneer. Try spicing things up at your next upcoming fishing tournament this summer. How about having us, Tigger and Beck, auction off a fishing Calcutta just to add a little bit more excitement? Regardless the crowd, we have the stories to share with the laughs to be had. Thank you to our partners, Ditali Outdoors, About You Photography, Buckstorm, Little Rack Taxidermy, Mickey's Mustard, ToxicCalls.com, Wobblo Creek Outfitters, Atlas Tracks, Abrahamson Rodeo Company, RFD TV, and the Cowboy Channel. Finally, a big thanks to all of you listeners that came along. And whether you're coming or going today, stay with us as we ranch it up. We sure hope you have a wonderful week ahead and wish you even more fun down the road. Remember to keep up with me, Beck, all week long by following The Bend on Facebook and on Instagram at The Bend Show. This is Rebecca Wanner. Catch Beck if you can next week on The Bend.